Verbs, conjugation, avoir. Avoir, in English, to have, is an irregular verb. What's an irregular verb? It's a verb that when conjugated doesn't follow the regular pattern. As we've previously seen, there are three groups of verb in French. So those are verbs where the infinitive of the verb ends in er, which we have looked at a lot, or the second group where the infinitive ends in ir, or the third group where the infinitive ends in re. Each of these three groups has its own pattern for conjugating regular verbs. This is good because it means all we have to do to learn a new verb is learn the infinitive and then apply the pattern to the group that it belongs to. This makes learning verbs easy and quick, which is a big plus because when we can learn verbs, we become very mobile in the language and we can achieve fluency quickly. Irregular verbs don't follow those regular patterns. They tend to have their own unique pattern or a pattern that they share with a very small group of verbs. So in this case, we will need to memorize that pattern. We will need to memorize each conjugation for each personal pronoun and for each tense. The reason that irregular verbs are irregular helps us to breathe a sigh of relief, because you might think, well, if I have to memorize all of the irregular verbs, how many are there? Luckily, not that many that we need to worry, and we don't need to memorize all irregular verbs, just the ones which are most important. The reason that many of the irregular verbs are irregular is because they're used so often. They have to fit into so many different spaces in the language, spaces of different sizes and shapes, and in order to fit in, they struggle to keep to a regular pattern and still be pronounceable and usable easily and quickly. So they become irregular so that they can fit in. Let's have a look at the present tense conjugation pattern for avoir. We have our personal pronouns on the left, the French conjugation of avoir in the center column, and on the right the English translation. J'ai, tu as, il a, or elle a, or on a. Nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, or elles ont. Try and memorize these. Practice writing them down. Practice saying them out loud. Use the previous screen to learn the pattern for the present tense conjugation of avoir. When you can write them down for each person and say them out loud correctly 3 times without looking, post onto the Telford LDS French Fluency group so that I know that you've cracked avoir. Good luck. C'est la fin.